shooting down in the woods. He wouldn't leave it even if he could. 'Cause life is good, yeah!
Hickok 45, your internet shooting companion, coming at you from Middle Tennessee, the beautiful hills of Middle Tennessee, the home of Dolly Parton, Alvin York, and, well, Davy Crockett made this his home for quite a while. We're proud of him. Down around Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. I go down every summer to Davy Crockett Days to help celebrate that event. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Lots of primitive camping at Davy Crockett State Park with axes, throwing axes and all that kind of thing like you see up at Friendship, Indiana at the rendezvous and that sort. Although I will have to say this past summer was a little bit of a disappointment. It just didn't seem to be as much of that cool stuff there, hardware available. I don't know if it's getting like some of the gun shows, a little too general population friendly or something. I don't know. Oh, but I did get off subject, didn't I? Yeah, so it is the home. Also, we claim Davy Crockett to some extent right there. What am I going to talk about? Yeah, here I am out here in the reloading room. Good thing you can't see it. Oh, man. When am I ever going to get this place straightened up to where we even could do a video if we wanted to out here? If we could get enough light in here for a video. Wow. Actually, I guess with the new camera, well, I say new, it's 2 years old now, probably would not have quite the challenge we did back when we first did some of those reloading videos with the first generation camera we used. But I am here amongst all the brass and cases, boxes of ammo, and oh man, you name it. There's 4 or 5 boxes of ammo I'd ordered this week, shipped in, and just to keep the staples of life churning. A lot of money on the floor there I'm looking at. Wow. But, and you know that, don't you? Ammo is not cheap, and it's not getting cheaper. I think that's one reason that, you know, most of us don't hesitate to buy it in bulk and buy what we can afford. I mean, not 40,000 rounds maybe, but we go ahead when in doubt, and yeah, give me 500 of those, or give me 1,000, or give me 3,000 rounds. It's not going down, and it keeps. It's that simple. A little bit like if you could buy 1,000 gallons of gasoline and just keep it in the backyard somewhere, and then use it as you needed it. Just assuming it's going up to $4, $5, $6 a gallon, eventually. So anyway, with ammo, that's kind of the way it is, really. It's not going to get any cheaper, and nor will it become any more available, I'm sure. So we tend to buy, plenty of what we need. Now, I'm not advocating we hoard tons of ammo, because that will create a shortage, of course. But it is something, you want to have on hand, right? And I've got oddball boxes here and there out here. So, man, just ballistol, ammo, powder. Oh, and here's a firearm. Oh, the gun of the show. I'll bet I brought this out to be the gun of the show. Let's see. What is it? Oh, boy. A beaut. A beaut. This is a nice gun. This is one I will enjoy having out here to fondle during the show. Just listen to this, would you? Yeah, I'm sure most of you recognize that cylinder closing up and swing out cylinder and everything. It is a Smith. It is the model 686 3-inch stainless. Well, 686 is stainless that I have, and dearly, well, maybe I shouldn't say love, but I really enjoy it. Put it that way. One of my favorite handguns. I wonder how many favorites I have. I guess I'm kind of like the guy, like Hugh Hefner, right? Whoever his babe was or is for the week, that's his favorite. I'm kind of that way with firearms. Whichever one I have in my hand, is one of my favorites, I guess, or I wouldn't have it. Or I wouldn't have borrowed it even, Generally speaking, maybe a few I would just soon not hang on to very long. Been a couple of those, but for the most part, I purchase guns I like and even borrow guns I think I'm going to like and that I know y'all want to see. There's a lot of demand for it. There's a lot of requests for it because it's probably a pretty decent firearm. I still get the occasional criticism that I like all guns. Well, I just don't spend a lot of time with junk guns. I don't really care to. There aren't that many junk guns. I've talked about that before. I mean, it's not like kind of like being in the business of manufacturing tires or something. Tires for 18-wheelers. Well, I don't know how many tire manufacturers there are for 18-wheelers, but even the worst one is probably pretty good, I hope. Otherwise, we'd be seeing a lot of 18-wheelers in the ditch. So same with a firearm. They all need to work. You don't build a firearm, if it's not going to work pretty well and be safe, So there is that element. But of course, that said, there are some that are less desirable than, of course, some others. But anyway, I really like the 686, and here I am already. Just started the radio show, and I have rambled into about 14 different directions, haven't I? Well, you know how that is. Speaking of revolvers, winter coming on here. I wonder how you all handle that when it really gets cold. You like to shoot, you get to a range every weekend, or you have your own property. I've heard about people with their own property to shoot on. Pretty cool. How's that change your shooting habits, I wonder? Thought I might touch on that a little bit. I know with me, it affects me to some extent. Obviously, it affects everybody if it's 20 degrees outside, what you shoot and how you shoot. But how it affects me, I guess, is what I was going to talk about a little bit. And maybe you can relate to this a little bit. I still shoot. I'm not an inside guy. If it's if it's 20 degrees, it's not a lot of fun just to go out and hang out, maybe outside much. But in Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, it's rarely in the 20s. I mean, we get some weather like that, but up in the day, it gets to be noon, it's more likely to be in the 30s at least, and then in the 40s. We probably have an average noon temperature through the winter of 40 or something, or 45, and then we have the occasional really nice day, where it's 60 or something, even in January maybe. But when it's cold, too cold to almost enjoy shooting, without gloves, I'm more likely to come out into the reloading room myself and load some magazines for a Glock or an XD or something like that. I put 5 or 6 magazines in my pocket, put on whatever I'm wearing. I tend to just put on my long johns in the winter when I get up, because I don't want to be outside some. That way I'm not, it's too cold to go out there, And I will load up some magazines, and that way if I want to just wear gloves, I can. I don't like to shoot with gloves on, really, at all, even in the winter much. But I will, that way you can pop on a semi-automatic pistol on your hip and just go trudge it through the woods or just out on the range. Maybe you load up 5, 6, 7 magazines, whatever you're going to shoot. And that way you're not fumbling. My point here, I'll get to it in a minute, is that you are not, like I'm telling you anything you don't know, but you're not having to fumble with little bullets out on the reloading table or somewhere when it's 20 degrees. You're just, all you're doing is dropping a mag out and put it in your pocket and inserting another magazine, taking some shots when you want to. It makes the semi-automatic a little bit more desirable, from that standpoint. Now, by the same token, you could have 4 or 5 speed loaders or 2 or 3 speed loaders loaded up for a revolver and do the same thing, essentially. You know what I'm talking about with a speed loader, the little cylinders that Dirty Harry used, or whoever. You see those, you all know about those. and that works too. But if you're having to fumble with individual cartridges with gloves on, not as easy for me. Tends to be easier with a large caliber. Doesn't take a lot of arm twisting to get me to take out a large caliber. Prowling around the farm, you can probably imagine. 44 fits the bill quite well, with pocket full of rounds. Not too hard to deal with, really. You can look, and when I go on my little woods walks and things, I don't shoot tons of rounds anyway. Usually, go out with a revolver, just plink at a couple of stumps here and there, maybe a steel target that happens to have been set up in the woods or somewhere. Maybe shoot 12, 20, 30 times max, just out prowling around the woods. So not a lot of reloading to do either way, but it is something I think about. And same with a rifle. It's nice to have a rifle that is easy to load without having to fumble around in the cold with bare fingers too much. But then again, I enjoy doing it with almost any firearm. Then maybe I just don't shoot that much. Just take a few shots. I like to get out and prowl when there's snow on the ground. It's fun. And we've done a few videos, like that. And I probably, after you've seen the videos, a lot of people think I'm just out there mowing down stuff all the time. But by and large, when I go on a woods walk, I guess I shouldn't reveal the truth, right? I don't probably shoot as much on a regular woods walk as I do in a video woods walk. And then again, I'm just shooting at stumps and things, not 2 liters. And you probably figured that one out, didn't you? But anyway, it does change things, doesn't it? When the winter comes and we still want to shoot. But with a little bit of thought put into it, and if you have several firearms that you like, you can usually pick out something that you can get all wrapped up. As long as you got some pockets, you can do pretty well. Go out and enjoy it without freezing to death. Recently, as I was patrolling through the videos on Troll Patrol, maybe you could call it, just trying to catch the really, really stupid stuff, troublemakers. But it occurred to me there's still a lot of people that compliment me highly on my shooting ability. Yeah, well, what can I say? Now, the point again I wanted to make is that I'm not the best shot out there. I have shot a great deal, so I should be able to hit the target most of the time if it's not too small, not too far away. But there are a lot of people who can shoot really well. And I was thinking about that because I have seen some videos maybe people have sent me, and I do get a lot of videos sent linked. I can't look at them, but I pop in on some of them if I can. My connection's right, and I don't have 1,000 emails to go through. And I'm reminded of new shooters, particularly if I'm at a range or somewhere seeing other people shoot, that there are a lot of beginners. There are a lot of people who are, I don't know what stage you would call it. They're at the intermediate or the beginners advanced stages, whatever, however you might classify those. But folks that when they shoot, they're still learning. Put it that way. They're still learning. Well, we all are, and that gun just knocks them around, whether it's a 9mm or a 40, maybe even a 380. And it brings it home to me that I am, I guess, pretty comfortable with a handgun, especially that it has become kind of a part of me, an extension of me, I guess. Again, not that I can hit anything I'm shooting at, but it is a very comfortable device, appendage. When I put it in my hand, it feels like home. And I forget sometimes it takes time to get to that point, and that was the point I wanted to make about that. If you're a relatively new shooter, or even if you've been shooting a little while, you've been burning some rounds, and you just got into it maybe a year ago, and you're heading out through the range when you get a chance. You probably already discovered this. It's like any kind of skill that you work at. Most of you have played some sport, probably have done something besides shooting, and you recall how it felt so awkward for a while, and then after a while you almost didn't notice it, but it was just easier, and it occurred to you one day, I remember when this was very awkward to me, or it just was difficult, more difficult. And that's the way I think it is with shooting. So keep working at it. And if you're having difficulty even keeping them on the paper, shooting is not one of those things where you just go in and pick up a gun and you read a couple of books, someone gives you some instruction and shows you how to hold the gun and how it's done correctly, that you're just going to be a great shot. Or you're going to be a very, very consistent shooter right away, and you're going to be able to keep them all in the black or in a smaller circle. That's just not the way it is. It's quite a mental game. Now you might with proper technique. I've seen some women do that pretty well. Women seem to pick it up faster than guys almost, but it just takes a lot of repetition in addition to good fundamentals. And time, rounds down range. That's the old phrase you hear a lot. Just takes rounds down range, and it really does. Michael Jordan didn't learn to shoot by just reading some books, or LeBron James, whoever you want to talk about, basketball player, just living with that ball, and it becomes a part of them. And so even if they don't use proper technique, that they make up for it just from the time they have spent, the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of shots they've taken. And it's just one of those things. You reach, as many of you know, you reach various stages and plateaus, and you'll just, all of a sudden, more comfortable with it. I can keep them kind of in the middle now. I feel a lot better. This is fun. And you shoot, and maybe you're frustrated because you don't seem to be getting to that next rung of the ladder. But then it'll just happen, and you'll realize, my groups have really tightened up, haven't they? That's just the way it is. That's the process with anything you learn. But it takes rounds down range, folks. It really does. Shooting a pistol is not an easy endeavor. I've just done so much of it that it's quite natural to me. I'm not a bullseye shooter. I don't fancy myself like one of the great pistol shots of all time. I can't pick off flies. I have no desire to do that, really. I just like to be able to hit what I'm aiming at a reasonable distance, a reasonable sized target, that sort of thing. I've had the same experience with the Harley recently. I rode into Nashville Sunday afternoon to pick up a gun. In fact, a fellow lent us for videos and pistol, thankfully, picking it up while I'm on the Harley. And I thought riding back and just around there, I didn't even think about where I was going hardly, where the lights or what kind of roads I'd be on so much. I just knew I could handle it, and I thought riding back how different this is than like 2 months ago when I first got this thing. I guess it's been 2 months. Maybe it's not been that long. And I don't even know where I made the next leap in terms of comfort and confidence, because I'm still paranoid on a motorcycle, but I was nervous about any irregularity in the road, where just the seams come together. It just felt like, oh wow, is this going to turn me over? And just every little thing, my first few weeks riding. And just the shifting, it's totally different than if you've not ridden a motorcycle, totally different than, I guess, any other vehicle I'm aware of. And you get comfortable with it after a while, and you just are better at it. It's just that simple. And of course, with a motorcycle, and with firearms, you always have to be paranoid, really, about every little thing. You've got to just be vigilant and totally focused. So they're very similar endeavors in a lot of ways. But hang in there, and you will see that development in yourself. You really will. It may not be this weekend or the next weekend or the next weekend. You may have frustrating days at the range, but you'll gradually see improvement. And the thing you don't want to do is just think, well, I just need to shoot another 1,000 rounds and I'll be better, or I didn't shoot enough rounds today. Slow down, take your time, work on your fundamentals, and make sure you're getting in nice. Because you can shoot all day long and it not help if you are not getting a good sight picture and working on that trigger brake. I mean, that's what it all comes down to, doesn't it? I think I talked about that in my shooting tips playlist videos. The sight being on the target when the trigger breaks is your goal, and that's easier said than done, because there's a tendency to pull that thing, especially to the left and low if we're right-handed. It's not easy to keep it right there as you squeeze that trigger and it breaks, because an explosion is coming. But that's what it comes down to, and you'll get better at it. You really will, believe me. You might have noticed on the recent posting with the close-up on the SCAR 17, that just a little note about that. I don't know why. Just thinking about things randomly to talk about. Got in the mood to come out and talk to y'all. It's Thanksgiving holidays, and I can't think of anything more enjoyable to do here this evening than to talk to the people that watch the videos. And in fact, the people who are the most avid viewers, I would imagine, and loyal viewers. So don't mind me rambling, and you seem to even enjoy that. So I'm pretty comfortable with you guys. If anybody else came in by mistake, sorry. But I had a little note here about the ambidextrous issue, because I watched that video. I remember when it happened as I was doing the video, but then I watched it and I said, oh gosh, Hickok, you know how to pronounce ambidextrous. I just said ambidextrous as I was being goofy with that gun, and then caught myself. But so I felt compelled to put that in the description and just mention that. And the only reason I do that, I am not a grammar nerd. I know I teach, and because I teach, I do need to be more careful about that sort of thing. Obviously, I teach that sort of thing, and I try to instill in my students to take pride in your language. And I'm not the best speaker or even the best writer. If you give me some time, I can write pretty well. But again, there's people a lot better than I am at all this, but I try to stress to them to take some pride in how they write, of course, and how they speak, and getting language correct as much as possible. There's a lot of things that everybody screws up, like lay and lie. How many people use lie correctly? Duh. Past tense of lie is actually L-A-Y, and L-A-I-N, of course, lane, past part. All the people, very few people use that correctly, really, in speech at least. And so there are things that we just kind of accept, but then there are other things that are just dead wrong, in terms of us putting other syllables in, and it kind of catches on. People just use it. Like ambidextrous. When you look at the spelling of it, it's ambidextrous, T-R-O-U-S. There's no I in there, so there's no way it can be pronounced ambidextrous. It's just not in there. We're sticking another syllable in there. Another word like that is here I'm in a grammar lesson, but another word like that people mispronounce quite often is mischievous. And they get mischievous out of that, and there's no V-I-O-U-S in that word. It's just V-O-U-S, mischievous. That's just what the word is. So those kinds of things, I actually teach some of that, or it's part of different lessons and that sort of thing. So I really have to make sure I don't make a lot of mistakes with that kind of thing. I set a poor example, don't I? But anyway, that's why I was obsessing over that correction on that. It's not a big deal. One thing I tell my students, I remind them when we're talking about this stuff, is that some of the best people, my favorite people on the planet, might use horrible grammar. And, that's not the measure of a person, necessarily. Now, in today's world, if you're looking to be successful in a lot of endeavors, you're ever going to need to submit a resume and show yourself well in an interview. Those are some important matters. No way around that, and that's an important issue. But by the same token, we all we all have people in our families that we we dearly love, and neighbors, acquaintances that just butcher the King's English, something horrible, right? And they're great people. We love them to death, and they're not going to be involved in a job interview anytime soon. It just does not matter that much, does it? So, it doesn't. It's not a reflection on somebody's character, somebody's integrity, and that sort of thing. It may be, I guess, a reflection on somebody's education level or how much they value education to some extent, or their environment. There's all kinds of factors. I don't want to get too much. I just remind students that let's not get too elitist, but let's just try to take care of yourself, because I teach in an environment where these students are all going off to college, and they're going to need to be able to pronounce ambidextrous correctly, if at all possible, and spell it, and even use lie and lay properly when they're writing. So that's just the way it is. But anyway, much ado about nothing there, I guess. I just it got kind of funny. A lot of comments on it, and people accusing me of using the southern pronunciation of that word. And it brought in a few other YouTubers that mispronounce it, and I don't like for that to happen. I'm not picking on other YouTubers. I wasn't aware of that, or I'd forgotten about it, because so many people do mispronounce it. And that leads me into another topic. I do, as I have said before, delete comments about other YouTubers. Almost 100%. I mean, there's a few I don't, because it always eventually ends up negative. Everybody's haters, and we all have them, not necessarily that many, but they see someone has brought up FPS Russia, or someone brought up nothing fancy, or said something about nothing fancy, or someone said something about anybody, you name it. A YouTuber you would think would not have any enemies, but there it'll come. Because they were blocked on that person's channel or something, and so they seized that moment. And I'm a little too paranoid about that kind of thing. From the beginning, I've been paranoid about that, because sometimes people will compliment me, and they think it's a compliment for me, and I guess it is, but they mean to compliment me by saying, well, you're better than, and I know their heart's in the right place, and but I don't want to really be compared, not on comments with other YouTubers. I don't, because it's a negative comment about them, even though it's positive about me. It's negative about them. So I delete tons and tons of compliments for me, because they are negative about some other YouTuber, and then is whatever it is, even if it's a hit against me and a compliment of another YouTuber. Occasionally, that's what it is, of course. Well, so-and-so's better than you. So I delete them all, because I don't want the comment section on any of our videos to be a playground for people to just pick on other YouTubers. That's not what it's all about. They still deal with this business of, well, don't you believe in the First Amendment, Hickok? Yeah, I do, but not in my living room. You can say what you want in your living room. How many times do I need to say that? Wow. These people that are obsessed with that First Amendment right on our videos, I think I'm going to get their address, drive to their house, and say horrible things about their daughter in their living room. How's that be? It's just, and then maybe they get the picture. But anyway, that's just part of life on YouTube, and it's kind of fun, interesting. It's what keeps it interesting. Speaking of things on, Tom Gresham's on YouTube, but on the internet. Hopefully you have listened to Tom Gresham's Gun Talk. I know I'm promoting that a lot. I have listened to him for years. The fact that I started doing YouTube videos hasn't changed that. And he's been the king of that forever. His dad was a gun writer, and the family, man, the legacy there in that family in terms of gun rights and the gun media is incredible. But many of you know, Tom Gresham invited somebody. Well, I don't know who he was going for, but he was trying to get at least a PR person or somebody from the Wounded Warriors Project to interview them on Veterans Day, and that's what started it all. And when they responded that they don't go on gun-related media like that and different things, and I'm not going to rehash it all. You'll have to go listen to it. And that surprised Tom, and so he talked about that a lot. And then this past Sunday on his show, he did, because it started a lot of hoopla, he got the CEO of the Wounded Warriors Project on, interviewed him. And I listened to that, I guess it was Monday. So you need to listen to both of those if you possibly can. So we're talking about Veterans Day. Sunday was the 11th, right? That was Veterans Day. And it was celebrated on the Monday, I think, in a lot of places. But it was the 11th, I guess, of November, his show. Okay, it was in the first hour, as I recall. And then the next Sunday, which is just a few days ago here as I speak, the next Sunday, he got the CEO to interview, and that was the first hour. Okay? And he might have had him on for 20 minutes. I don't know. It was a good little length. So it would behoove you to listen to both of those, okay? And then just see what you think. I'm trying to be objective about it. And after the first Sunday and listening to it, and Tom and I exchanged some email about it, I told him, I can kind of see where they're coming from. On one hand, they want to bring in as much revenue as they can to the Wounded Warriors Project, and I think they're projected, he said Sunday, $185 million for year 2013. $185 million. I told Tom, I said, well, I don't know. If they're going to bring in another $100 million for those soldiers and their families by not appearing on gun shows and things, maybe I'm being petty, small-minded to make a big deal out of it. I don't know. But on the other hand, they're dissing the shooting community to an extent there by not co-branding with shooting events and that kind of thing. So I'm torn a little bit, but I'm pretty much thinking right along there with Tom Gresham on it. There are other organizations that do the same things and that are not afraid to be affiliated with firearms companies and events, and so that's kind of where I am with it. I again, on one hand, I can kind of see where they're coming from, but I'm getting a little bit more like Tom, in terms of zero tolerance, policy on this thing. I'm weary of, even though things have changed a lot in the last 10 years, 20 years even, where the shooting sports are much more accepted, mainly because so many more people are interested in firearms. I mean, it's great, the carry permits and just everything, the games, it's just all contributed to, there's still those weirdos living in their bubble, I call them weirdos, but in their bubble that think guns are horrible and they're only evil and only used for crime. They're still hiding, they're living their little cloistered lives, and don't ever see shooting ranges and don't experience the hobby themselves. But I'm getting to that point where I'm just not very tolerant either. I'm weary of people who look down upon shooters, look down upon our hobby, our sport, the Second Amendment, whatever aspect of it, in any way. Now, I've never been one to wear my hobby on my sleeve necessarily, and take every opportunity to bring it up. But I'm always ready to bring it up. And have done it in a lot of environments where, it's surprised people. I was in the publishing industry. I've been in some circles with a lot of people that a little bit of the wine and cheese crowd, where it's come up. I brought it up mainly because someone in the crowd will know I'm a shooter and just say something about it, maybe as a joke, Or I recall one time being in Philadelphia with some folks and having dinner with some people, and don't think there are any shooters in that crowd. And when someone asked me, when they found out I was from Tennessee, I lived in Tennessee, asked me, "You got a gun rack in your pickup truck?" Well, it just so happened at the time that I did have a gun rack in my pickup truck, because I was going to a shooting range pretty often at the time. And if you've ever tried to haul a couple of rifles or a shotgun or whatever you're taking to the shooting range in a regular small cab pickup truck, there's nothing like a gun rack. I mean, it's perfect. It's the one place in a pickup truck cab where it's out of the way, And so yeah, I had a gun rack in the back window. People don't do that as often now, I think, for security reasons, and I haven't had one for a long time. But so yeah, I wasn't going to deny that. Yeah, actually, I do. It's the handiest thing you can imagine. And I just went into a discussion about just as if everybody at the table had several firearms, and I was giving them some information, just like I try to do sometimes in the videos or radio show or somewhere. Actually help people, give them a little info, something, a tip. So I just, actually I do. It's the most amazing little convenience too, because it's very difficult to, with your rifle, you're never sure, well, which way should I point this thing, and it bolt open, and it's propped against the floor, resting on the seat, trying to slide around, or you put it behind the seat on the floor and bounce around. Yeah, so I sure do. It's a great little invention, and I just went ahead like it was something everybody has. But anyway, I've always been that way with it. I don't lead with it. I don't look for every little opportunity to bring it up. Definitely don't ever want to scare anybody. Always soft pedal it and bring it up slowly, and then just and that's the best thing I think we can do is be civilized, sensible, at least sensible seeming people, and bringing up our sport. It's just as if we're bringing up a game of golf. We're talking about a new set of clubs we bought, or how we did on the driving range, the golf course on Saturday. Just talking about our day shooting as if that's what it is, because that's what it is. It's not like we're making something up. And it's our job to do that, just as it is to be a member of gun rights organizations. I mean, we have no choice now. We have no choice. Now, I don't get political very often, but you need to be a member of a gun rights organization. And as Tom says, you need to start with the NRA, even if you don't like them. Any gigantic organization is going to upset us. Think of the company you work for. There's negatives about any organization. You just got to forget some of that. I mean, it's so obvious. If we had even 3 or 4 times the members we have in the NRA, we just wouldn't be worried about the gun regulations. We wouldn't have to worry about it. That would take care of it. There's like a measly 4 million members. I think it's not even 4 million. And there's 100 million gun owners? So, it's that same old thing. There's a very small number of people pushing the wheelbarrow while everybody else is riding in it. We've got to get more people as members of these gun rights organizations. If you just absolutely, refuse the NRA, join one of the others, or 2 of them. Preferably the NRA plus your state organization, or maybe one of the other Gun Owners of America, one of the other national organizations. That will take care of the problem. If you feel frustrated about maybe your vote not working out, hey, it will work with the NRA or some of the other organizations. It will definitely count, because you're sending money, and it will count, no doubt about it. So anyway, that's my soapbox, and I'm sticking to it. We've got to support these gun rights organizations. they are the only reason we still have our rights in this country. They really are. It's I mean, you can sit around and talk tough all day long. By the Second Amendment, by God, they'll get my guns. Well, they will get your guns, or they'll make it so that you won't be able to enjoy them. Look at England. Look at Australia. The criminal penalty will be so high that anybody in your family would be crazy to let you keep your guns. You know, you'd be doing your family a disservice and everything else. So it's just the way it is. And I know everybody can come up with 15 reasons at least for not joining a gun rights organization. There's always another bill. There's always some other place the money can go. So we should do a video sometime on helping people come up with reasons for not joining the cause, not supporting the cause financially. There's probably a million reasons, none of them all that good. For the price of a night's pizza, you order Pizza Hut one night, and for a family of 3 or 4 people, it always ends up $25, $30, $35, right? You can join the NRA. And again, it doesn't have to be the NRA. I'm not an NRA rep or anything. It's just that's the big elephant, and that's the one everybody in Washington recognizes. That's the elephant in the room, and that they watch and they listen, and a lot of politicians want to just be aware of, and I mean, it's on their radar. That's the main thing, and. So I always say the NRA, good place to start, and if you can afford others, those too. But that's where we need to be putting our efforts now, I think, especially now, more than ever. So again, I try not to get too political, but if you have a firearm, you need to do more than just shoot it to ensure that we're able to do this, and whenever we want to, and to continue it. I know some folks have a little trouble with some of the, probably some of the gun rights organizations seem really, really right-wing if you're more of a lefty. And one thing I try not to do is to alienate anybody on our channel, because you're just shooters, the way I look at you. You're just shooters. You're interested in firearms. We want you in the fold. And John and I want to help you learn whatever we can help you with through our channel. So we don't want to alienate anybody. And for most of my life, I've had this problem with bigotry. I just really do, of any kind. And I'm not perfect myself, but I delete a lot. I mean, anything gets deleted, and it may get a smart, eloquent remark I might write in there before I delete it too. Anybody that posts things that are just bigotry in nature, So you're all aware of that. But I mean, most of you, I think, and it doesn't matter who they're slamming. We see stuff on the channel. People seizing the moment to make racial cracks or just any kind of bigotry that comes up, and a lot of them probably don't necessarily mean it in a mean sort of way. Who knows? We don't know who's making the comments and whose basement they're living in. Although you just never know. But probably sometimes the person's a good-hearted person. It's just the way they've grown up, or they're not thinking, or they've had 5 beers, or I don't know. But try to make it open to everybody. And I know that, again, these gun rights organizations might come off just a bunch of old white guys that, so far to the right, they're off the scale, perhaps. I don't know if that's your perception. It may be your perception of me. But, you just got to bite the bullet and do the best you can, and make the contribution, and then vote for freedom. That's all I can say. And I got off topic there, because I get to thinking about that, and it gets me fired up, as you can tell. The Wounded Warriors Project, back to that. John and I have talked about it. We're not 100% sure what we're going to do. If you're brand new and you haven't been with us very long at all, and you're listening to this, you might not be aware that we've raised some money for the Wounded Warrior Project, and through target sales and different things from the range. Yeah, we're not going to do that until we think about it some more with that organization. We're going to look around. One of my other favorite charities is the Second Harvest Food Bank. But we may do something for them for a while until we figure out what we're going to do for the military guys and gals that are coming back, wounded. There are some. I heard Tom interviewing a lady. I think she runs the MarineParents.com. That sounds like an interesting organization. Does a lot of the very same things, and they're very anxious to be affiliated with any shooting event. So they're the antithesis of the Wounded Warriors Project attitude. So we're studying all that, but I really would like for you all to listen to Tom if you have not. In both of those shows, and again, it's just the first hour, so you can catch at first 30 minutes, I think, on both shows maybe, and catch that. Just see what you think. Maybe would value some sensible analysis of that from some other people. Just what's your take on it? On one hand, again, I can see both sides, but I still lean towards the shooter side. I tend to side with Tom on this. He's being kind of non-committal, but it's pretty obvious what he's going to do, and it's a shame because the Wounded Warriors Project does so many wonderful things. There's no doubt about that. But then again, that's one of the ways we vote. We vote with our dollars. We vote with our attention, and if with the Hickok 45 channel we're giving the Wounded Warrior Project attention or money, that's kind of a vote for them, and maybe John and I would rather put our vote with some other organizations. It's just kind of where we're thinking right now. No great animosity, towards the Wounded Warrior Project or anything. It's just one of those deals where, well, we'll just move our support to some other organization and let that be. So anyway, enough on that, I guess. Don't know if I will have posted the Makarov video by the time you're listening to this. We just did it, and we have to decide on our posting order and what we want to put up next. But got my hands on a Russian military Makarov, and I understand the actual correct, speaking of pronunciation and spelling, the actual correct pronunciation, believe I read was Makarov. The accent's on the second syllable. Can you believe that? Makarov. You get around saying that in the gun shop, and people look at you funny, wouldn't they? But to most people, it's a Makarov, I guess. And that's just the way it is. John Guerin pronounced his name Guerin, as I understand, and but once people start calling it the Garand, it's stuck, and so you start walking around gun shops and gun shows calling it a Guerin. Hey, I'm looking for an M1 Guerin. Yeah, people are going to look at you pretty funny, aren't they? So anyway, carbine. But I did get my hands on a Makarov. A viewer living in Nashville wrote me and said he had one we could use, so I motored in on my Harley and picked it up. He was kind enough even to give me some ammo, or lend me some ammo. Didn't need to use much of it. I found some. So we tested her out and did a video with it, and I will have to say it's one of the neat things about this project. I really am fortunate. As I talked about last week, I realize most of the time it seems people don't realize how lucky they are. I know how lucky I am, because I love to shoot. It's one of my favorite things to do, and mess with firearms. It's my hobby. Hey, newsflash, huh? And I get these cool guns like that, and I'm still learning big time. I had never even held a Makarov. Can you believe that? A gun nut like myself and all the old guns you see me with, and I hang out in gun shops, gun shows all the time. And here I had not even picked one up. I can't really explain it other than there's just so many firearms, and I like so many, shoot them, that it takes time to get around to them all. Don't know if that was my plan, but it's one of the benefits, partly because it's on my radar so much from recommendations and people ask me about it. Whereas if you think about it, before I started doing this YouTube thing, I didn't have people asking me about certain guns, so I didn't have this sense of what some of the most popular guns are necessarily, if it just wasn't on my radar for some reason. So I'm now in this weird position where, with our number of subscribers and viewers, so it's almost like a laboratory for that. It's statistically, I can almost make some pretty good assumptions on what some of the most popular guns are, just because of the questions I get and the interest that is shown on our channel. It's just been kind of interesting. But the Makarov, man, the history of that gun, 51 to 91, and it's still 1951, 1991 adoption, and then it's still being used, in Russia and other places by police agencies and even military. It's just so much history right through the Cold War, and that thing is pretty sweet. It shoots really well. The 9x18 cartridge is kind of different. It's just not everywhere, and but it's out there. There's plenty of it apparently. It's an interesting little round. It's bigger than a 9mm. I go into that in the video. It's kind of like a .380, but it's in terms of height, length. But it's let's see, what was it? It's actually a 9.22mm. It's 364 thousandths diameter, whereas the .380 and 9mm are generally 356. So it's bigger. It won't chamber. You cannot even put it in a Glock chamber. It just won't fit. It's just a bigger round, bigger bullet. But that's a cool little gun. Like I said, this one is a Russian military model that this guy has, and that's one of the, I guess you'd say, the elite types or models of the Makarov. They're a little bit harder to find or to come by, and it was a vintage 1976. I still have it. It's in the safe, but we're going to do another video with it and get it back to him. But very, very interesting firearm, and I can see why so many people carry those or buy those to carry. I'd feel pretty well armed with that thing. It seemed very reliable. The only problem we had, I didn't get a magazine seated in the video fully one time, right near the end of the video. And that was the only thing that messed it up. Of course, that was me. Fired a bunch of hollow points and just full metal jacket. It just 2, 3, 4 different kinds of ammo I put through it. It just feeds just fine, and it shoots right on. That one is. Its sights are right on, and very pleasant to shoot. It feels good in the hand. I think it's a little heavy. It's I think 1.5 pounds, but it's not all that big. For a belt holster, it'd be a great little carry gun. No big problems. So pretty interesting. I enjoyed messing with that. Oh, I'm neglecting the 686 here. Yeah, need to pick it up and mess with it a little bit. Good old revolver. That reminds me, another firearm that a recent acquisition, I don't think you know about yet. Well, you might, depending on, again, the posting order, but just did a video on it. It's a Rainforest carbine. What? You're not familiar with the Rainforest carbine? Where have you been? The Lee Enfield, made in 1944 through 47, I think. The little short carbine version of the, well, it's really number 5 Mark I, but most of you are familiar with the Lee Enfield, that fine bolt-action rifle. You're still wondering, maybe some of you, what the heck a Rainforest carbine is? Well, just trying to be politically correct. You don't want me to call it a jungle carbine, do you? Wow. Ugh. Awful. Yeah, it's actually a jungle carbine. I forgot to make that joke in a video. It makes me mad because I'm always making that crack. When everybody starts talking about the jungle, I always have to correct them. It's rainforest. There's no jungle anymore. Tarzan was king of the rainforest, right? So anyway, I have liked those things. I see them at a gun show occasionally and think, oh, because I like the Lee Enfield, but the whatever, the number 4s, number 5s, number 2s, they're all so cool, that action is, and I love my number 4 Mark II. And whenever I see one, I think, oh, I'd like one of those, because I like carbine length rifles, and I don't know why, I just never have bitten on one. They're usually they got a pretty stiff price on them, or there's something about them, and I say, well, maybe not now. I don't really know enough about it. I'm not even sure what I'm buying here. There's so many different models of these things. So I would just always pass them over because you don't see them very often, though. And it's maybe when I'm looking for something else anyway. But anyway, I saw one on a website. It's becoming a favorite website of mine. As the Simpsons Limited. They're up in Galesburg, Illinois, I think. Great pictures of any guns they have. They kind of specialize in some of these old bolt-action guns that I don't know if they're the best prices around. You might find a better price on some of these things, but they tend to get a lot of this kind of things in. I just bopped in there the other day, and I saw one of those, jungle carbine. Oh man, there's one of those things. This is where I got my Schmidt-Rubner, the K31, Swiss bolt gun. That actually has not even made an appearance in a video yet, come think of it. And that was back in the summer, sometime early summer, I guess. We got to do something with that. We did some videos with a borrowed K31, and so we just haven't done anything with mine yet, but we will, I'm sure. But back to the jungle carbine. I saw one there. I thought, wow, there's one of those dudes. And I thought, man, it looks almost new. I checked the thing out, and they have a function there where you can zoom in on it and scan along the side of the gun, the top, and everything. And I thought, wow, that's awfully good shape. And I noticed the number 5 Mark I looked like it was scratched into the side of the receiver, and the finish looked like really good and everything. I thought, oh, okay, this is. There's something about this one here. This has just been electro penciled in. This number, and all this. Okay, it seems kind of pricey for that. This doesn't look very authentic, but that was my problem. I was the dummy. So I thought, well, let me go do a little research on it. So I started digging around these jungle carbines, the Lee Enfields, and I find some sources that outline the differences between a real jungle carbine, number 5 Mark I, and some of the others, the number 4s and various guns that have been cut down to make jungle carbines out of them. And one of the very first things I run across is one of the things you want to watch for. If it's a true number 5 Mark I jungle carbine, that number 5 mark, et cetera, all the markings, they will be electro penciled on the receiver. Oh, okay. So the more I read, the more I studied, then it talked about other features, characteristics of the rifle, the carbine, was where the metal's been relieved, and the scallops in the barrel, and the receiver, and the butt plate, just different things. Okay, and I kept going back and forth. Yep, it's got that. Yep, that's a real deal. Okay, and so I called them, and the guy there was really good. He said he just absolutely wasn't sure. The thing's in good shape. It either had been refinished, maybe he wasn't sure. It's just and I'm still not. I look at it. It doesn't really matter. It's a real jungle carbine. And it's in very good shape. Whether it's been refinished at all. It doesn't matter to me, but I just like those. I don't know. I'm kind of a sucker for these military rifles, as you might guess, and these old bolt guns. They're just so cool. and the history behind the Lee Enfield is just amazing when you study that thing, how long, that was the rifle of the British Empire. It's just so cool to be able to own those things and to enjoy them. That 303 British rounds, pretty cool. It's got a little punch to it, not quite as much, I guess, as a 308 or 30-06, but plenty of punch. Make a good little deer rifle, plinking rifle. I just like it. So anyway, you'll be seeing that if you haven't seen it. And what else was I going to talk about? I don't even remember. I'll think of it in a second. Oh, I know what I was going to say, and I need to wrap this thing up here. I've been yakking for a long time, haven't I? Someone had a comment on a recent close-up video about how we're doing a lot of close-ups lately. In fact, somebody wrote, is there something wrong, Hickok? You got a lot of close-ups lately or something like that. Well, what would be wrong that would cause me to do some close-ups? I don't know. The thing that has been wrong is we've been neglecting the close-ups, and we have done several. I guess what somebody's thinking is, if I post a close-up, that means, oh, I did that instead of a review of their favorite gun or something, I just did a close-up of some firearm they've already seen. I don't know what their thinking is, but whatever we post, it's not really in lieu or instead of anything else. It's what it is. It's posting that instead of nothing, basically. So on that particular day. So I don't know. One reason we started doing the close-ups, we just kind of fell into that. I'll never forget the day I was messing around with a Glock 27, just sitting by the campfire, and pulled out my pocket camera and just filmed a little bit of it, and then started talking to myself. And I think maybe it was John said, "Well, y'all just post that," and people liked it, and they wanted us to do more of that, and so that's where the close-ups came from. And so I guess we put a little structure to it, but it's mainly just kind of goofy in a way, isn't it? John's looking over my shoulder with the camera, put up some easy targets, show the gun very clearly, and just shoot a little bit there, and they're usually pretty short. And they're just one of the videos that we do with not with every firearm, but with some. They're fun to do. They're kind of easy, and it's another look at whatever the firearm is. We don't do them with everything. I think we tend to do them with more popular guns or guns we think you'll want to see again, maybe. And sometimes it is a firearm that we just haven't had out for a while. We're thinking about, and people will bring it up. When are you going to do? In fact, I had a comment today. I've had several people, in fact, over the last month or two. When are you going to do a close-up of the K98? K98. We tend not to do maybe as many with rifles or certain kinds of rifles. I don't know. I think we started doing those with handguns, but then we kind of graduated to rifles too because of the requests. And I'm game, when people recommend ones. Yeah, let's get out the K98. Let's do a close-up. It'd be fun. You just can't imagine. Well, you probably can. Just sitting there on a bucket and pocket full of ammo, just taking some shots at some easy. It's fun, and people tend to like them. What can I say? So we do it, and sometimes we do several. Just depends. I don't know. We'll end up with a close-up video on probably every gun we have, and some we borrow, we'll do a close-up. With some firearms, if it doesn't lend itself, like the Makarov, for example, we have it for a few days here. We did a video with it, and I don't know if we need to do a chapter 2. With 3 magazines, they can't do a gigantic shootout with it. I don't know. So we may just do a close-up video with it. Guns like that, it kind of lends itself better to just one regular video maybe, and a close-up video. Give you another look at it. We can post up here sometime in the future. That's just kind of our thinking. Then sometimes we'll even do a woods walk. If it's a really sexy gun, like the MP40s or something, or the AUG, the Steyr AUG AUG, guns like that, while we have them, sometimes we'll do the full complement of videos, as you might say. We'll do the initial video and show you how it breaks down and shoot it and do our usual, hopefully fairly thorough video with it. And then we'll do a chapter or two, maybe over on the hill, particularly if it's a rifle. It just depends on the firearm. And then maybe a woods walk, and then maybe a close-up. So it just depends on the firearm and what we're in the mood to do. If it's a firearm that I own or have purchased, we may not get in a hurry to do that. And if it's a firearm we borrow, we may do that full complement, and we have them there, and so they may sprinkle out a little more, quickly. I don't know. It just depends. But anyway, I was surprised by the guy's comment. I don't know. You never know sometimes whether someone's trolling a little bit. There's a certain percentage of that, not a high percentage, it's a small percentage, but there are folks that are upset that they got blocked or something, or they can't get anything going on their channel maybe or something, so they want to, a backdoor insult or something, or make it sound like something that we're doing that we enjoy doing is boring to them, or just this different. You never know where people are coming from. It may just genuinely be boring. They just popped in and they found something that we do boring. Could be it, very legitimately, or it could be they're just jealous as heck, and looking for a way to cut us down. You just never know, or just someone's not thinking when they write and say something. They've had 12 beers and don't even know what they're writing. You never know, but it would surprise me. We do enjoy doing the close-ups, and that's another good video in the winter. If it's really cold, they're not quite as hard to do, not as much shooting and reloading, and so it just depends. We just post what we like to do, and like we've always done, and we'll continue doing that. We do, of course, see the suggestions and heed those, but we're kind of on our own program. And it's worked pretty well so far, and we'll put out the word if we start looking for a new marketing director, and maybe that's what that guy wanted to be. Well, I better wrap this up. I've yacked at you long enough. We were planning to do a vlog here, I don't know, next few days maybe, so I might repeat some of this to some extent, don't know, but we'll see. And I hope you have a great holiday if you're celebrating. If you're in this country and you celebrate Thanksgiving and everything, hope you have a great, or had, I don't know when I'll get this posted, but enjoy the holidays just in general, regardless of what you celebrate. I think there's a kind of a holiday spirit, around Christmas time and Thanksgiving, and regardless of your religious affiliation. It just seems to be a season of the year when people are a little bit better mood, and I don't know, just everything about it. It's again, regardless of your religious persuasion, I think it's a desirable time of the year in a lot of ways, except for the weather. If you're living somewhere packed in 10 inches of snow, maybe, and of course the poor folks up in the Northeast that not only have the snow and maybe the cold weather, but there's still a lot of neighborhoods that are more or less devastated. That's just amazing. Long Island of all places, I don't remember that ever happening in that area. But anyway, I will be yakking at you again one day, and you'll probably see my pretty face in a video. If you tune in to the Hickok 45 channel, there's just no doubt about that, is there? So, hope you get a chance to shoot and represent the firearms community in a positive way. And I know that most of you, if not all of you, do that. And hope you continue doing that, because we want to enjoy this sport, right on through the next century or two, right? So, y'all take care. You've been listening to the Hickok 45 radio show. See you on the range.